Welcome to the Classic Car Enthusiast, Jaguar Enthusiast, because I'm going to do most on this Jaguar today. Okay, so I was out in Czechia where I did the videos on Johann's factory, this Seco flow control, and showed you the sandblasting stuff, which I posted up yesterday. So he got the IRS down, and we've now stripped it out of the cage. I'll pick the camera up and I'll show you what we're doing with it. There's a few things that I'll point out on this. On the Jaguar back ends, the E-Type and the early XJs. I'm not sure about the later ones, but the setup is almost the same. The cage is the IRS cage is slightly different than it is on a Series 1. On a Series 1 it's much more difficult, there's much more open space in the cage on the XJs, and maybe the later, the Series 2 E-Types, I don't know, but certainly on the Series 1 it's much more difficult, the cage is quite enclosed. Anyway, I'll pick the camera up as I said and show you. But we've come across a few things that is not the way to do it, but I'll point it out to you and show you. So I'll pick the camera up and I'll let you have a look. So. Oh yeah, quick thing. This system here, I told you it wouldn't. My system has too low ampage to work the double. This pneumatic double one. But I took it to this friend of mine's workshop, not the one in Czechia, another one he has, which he doesn't use anymore, and it works perfect. So what we'll do is, if we need to double spot weld, we'll just take the body up to his workshop near Vienna and do what we have to do. Anyway, so that's good news, that works. So you can see now the back's off the XJ6. Somebody mentioned about checking the fuel lines, which we have done. It's just got a bit of surface rust, fortunately, but it's quite nice in there. It's quite clean. You can't see much. You can't see anything at all. In fact, I'll have to get a light. Anyway, more importantly, this is what the problem is here. You can see here, my hands are going to be manky, but anyway, you can see, watch when you see that movement? And obviously by the time that was going through the dry shaft, it was making it even worse. So one of the things with, and I said this when I was building my IRS, you got to be careful with these brackets, because they've got special spaces in them, and they have to be absolutely perfect, not just to fit that bracket there, the plate that goes across it, but for getting the rods through in line. And in here is two spacer tubes, which is these two here. And I think I remember mentioning at the time, I went to S&G Barrett and they sent me 3.8 spacer tubes because mine were badly corroded. And the 4.2 is slightly different. But if you see there, somebody actually welded them in place. Now, instead of putting the locking wire in these, they put these distance tubes in and they actually stuck a weld both sides. That's unbelievable. And you can see the nut, how they've damaged it. You can see there's the hole there for the wire to go through. Why they welded them, I have no idea. Anyway, but I want to keep these in place, which won't affect doing the diff anyway when they rebuild it, but I want to keep them in place because it's a pain trying to find the right shims for here, and the shimming is very, very important. Otherwise it's extremely difficult to get the shafts back in. And the oil that came out of it's got a lot of metal swarf in it, so there's obviously something bad internally. I mean, I don't know if that's the whole bearing in that casing that's gone or what it is, but you know, that's some serious movement. That should be solid. Anyway, so yeah, the other thing is when he had it tested, the only thing that they found was this movement, and obviously by the time you put it onto the wheel, that's quite a lot of end float or a lot of movement, because it's emphasising it by the length of the shaft. But this is the handbrake mechanism on the XJ6, exactly the same almost as the E-Type, and when we took it apart the pads just came apart. Now he's had this car 10 years and he's done 8,000 kilometres. So what's that, 5,000 miles? About 500 miles a year. And these pads look absolutely perfect. And there's nothing wrong with them. But they are 10 years old. He's only done 8,000 Ks. So the chances are, if we don't replace them, they could actually, because they're old, like tyres are only good for 7 years. And the same with the pads, they could delaminate from there and just come slipping out. And it's much easier to do it when they're out. On the XJ6, these are easy to do. On the E-Type, it's an absolute sod. The handbrake ones, you just can't get out. It's just not possible. You have to take the cage out. Is there one here? There you go, there's one. There's just no way to change that. I mean, they're tiny anyway. And the last thing was, I was mentioning about the cage. There you can see the cage is upside down. And that's in really top nick. I wouldn't think that that's actually original. It's too good. There's not a pitting on it, nothing. So I would imagine that that's a new cage, or they certainly sandblasted it, but there's not even any pitting on it. This is where they normally go, here in the centre, on all of them, and it's absolutely perfect. So I think that's a new cage. And this car, this car is a 69 Mark 1, and it originally had a 2.8 litre engine in it, which they only made, I think, for a few years because it was so underpowered. But I think they did it at the time because I remember in the late 60s there was something about tax on a 3 litre engine or something, some government tax. I can't remember exactly what it was now, so maybe somebody could make a comment about that. But there was something to do with something under 3 litre. There was a levy or a tax, and that's why they tried to make them under 2.8. But obviously it's a big heavy car and it was well underpowered. And I was worried that this was the original, but it turns out that when Martin, this neighbour of mine, bought it, they did replace the diff for a 4.2, so that's good news. Although this one is going to have to be redone or replaced, because I would imagine you would never put a 2.8 diff in with a 4.2 engine. It would be just crazy. The road speed would be wrong for the revs and so on. But I should imagine the 2.8 diffs are like rocking horse shit to get hold of, and if you had a 2.8. So, but the 4.2s, I'm sure there's plenty of them around, and certainly all the parts you can get for them. But he's going to have it. He's going to take it to a specialist and have it done, and then we'll rebuild it and put it back in. Anyway, so that's it for today. That's what we've been up to. Yeah, and as you can see, there's the bottom wishbones and everything, all the parts off it. And if you're interested in the brake system and the diff and all that, all you have to do is go to my site, Jaguar XJ6, and put in Jaguar IRS, and you'll see all the, I think there's about 9 videos, 9 parts where I showed of building it up, and it's the same system on this. Anyway, and there's got some good tips in it about the problems I found and the better techniques and so on. So as I say, I hope you enjoy the video, and hopefully we'll get this thing back on the road as soon as this diff's sorted out. Very quick job. I think it took us I don't know, 3 hours to strip it completely. Yeah, probably less than that. Take it out and strip it, so which is not bad. Anyway, again, thanks for watching in. Much appreciated, and keep giving us a thumbs up or any comments. Take care and bye for now. Bye.